From Toronto, the CBC Evening News.
Tonight, remembering Pierre Elliott Trudeau, a politician and a man larger than life. Good evening. Canadian leaders have come and gone. Our history books are filled with their contributions, the nation they shaped, the adversities they faced, how they inspired and challenged. Pierre Elliott Trudeau was one of those leaders, but his is a legacy above and distinct from the rest. Trudeau died yesterday at age 80. He will lie in state in the House of Commons beginning tomorrow, and a state funeral will follow in Montreal on Tuesday. We begin our coverage tonight in Ottawa. It was there that Trudeau first captured the imagination of a nation, and it was there today that he was remembered for his brilliance, his courage, and his complexity. Julie Van Dusen reports.
A red rose, for so many a symbol of the man. They came to Parliament. Their thoughts full of the person who dominated the political scene for so long.
I was just somebody who grew up with Trudeau, and I think he did a lot for our country. He gave us a lot of pride in our country, and I just wanted to honor him.
There are so many dimensions to remember. Mitchell Sharp, a minister in Trudeau's cabinet, recalls how the former Prime Minister of Britain, Jim Callaghan, expressed such surprise over Trudeau's antics.
A staircase with him. He suddenly left my side and slid down the banister. He's a crazy fellow, you know.
The Prime Minister arrived on the Hill too. His trip to the Caribbean cut short by the sad news. Prime Minister, what's going through your mind this morning? Can you share your thoughts with us, please?
Canada.
In the House of Commons, Jean Chrétien's words were brief, but his grief apparent.
Pierre, you made us young. You made us proud. You made us dream. Merci, cher ami, et au revoir.
Alliance leader Stockwell Day didn't know Trudeau personally, but marked the moment.
If I would be allowed to quote the words of that song, which says, "Just remember in the winter, far beneath those bitter snows, lies the seed that with the sun's love in the spring becomes the rose." Mr. Trudeau has brought the rose to us.
Bloc Québécois leader Gilles Duceppe says Trudeau the Federalist was a formidable adversary.
Monsieur Trudeau a été un adversaire majeur.
NDP leader Alexa McDonough.
Whatever part of the political spectrum we came from, he challenged us. He galvanized us. He forced us to examine our beliefs and to act on those beliefs.
Conservative leader Joe Clark faced Trudeau in opposition, then beat him in 1979.
He changed more than laws. He changed our image of ourselves at home and in the wider world, where he modernized and extended the international vocation of Canada.
A minute of silence, then the House of Commons adjourned until after the funeral. Tomorrow, Pierre Trudeau will lie in state on Parliament Hill until Monday morning, then to Montreal for a state funeral on Tuesday. Julie Van Dusen, CBC News, Ottawa.
Yes, Trudeau was despised by some, but oh, so adored by so many others. Even his critics admit he had a hold on the public, a fitting first Prime Minister for the television age. Urban Affairs reporter John Northcott has more on the Trudeau charm, a charm that won over even stodgy old Toronto.
Torontonians signed the condolence book for the family of Pierre Elliott Trudeau, a man with a close connection to this city, a man who spoke Spanish and Italian and helped many immigrants to come to this country and to Toronto.
The multicultural communities in Toronto loved him and still do.
When Trudeau came to town, the Italians, Greeks, and Portuguese community welcomed him with open arms. His charisma captivated in a time before spin doctors, in an era before image makers.
The camera loved him. He had an etched face. He was physically very graceful. He loved doing physical things. He loved running. He loved jumping. He loved diving. He loved being on the trampoline. He loved, waving his arms around. He liked waving at people. He liked embracing girls. He was a very physical guy.
Patrick Gossage was Trudeau's press secretary from 1976 to 1983. He says his former boss was an intelligent man who knew his charm was effective.
He'd do those things, and they were a natural, I think for him it was a natural sense of performance. Now that's not to say that this role-playing was not self-conscious. It was very self-conscious. He would think about it.
Yet the shenanigans and the sound bites added to an image that some scholars say helped give Canada an image of itself as a country.
All those suggest to me, yes indeed, a kind of iconic charisma that Trudeau not only was able to get away with great flair, but also was able, in effect, to recast that sense of what being a Canadian, in fact, meant.
And Gossage shares two other stories of being Trudeau's press secretary. One was the gestures, the various hand signals and arm signals that in different cultures could be viewed as obscene, and then it was Gossage's job to go around and try and explain that the Prime Minister didn't really mean to have done that, knowing, though, that he probably did. The other story was that because of Trudeau's great image, there wasn't that much to do in terms of having him project a physical image. However, Trudeau had flyaway eyebrows, and Gossage said what he had to do was occasionally lick his finger and remind the Prime Minister to keep his eyebrows under control.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
Newscasts and news headlines in Toronto blared the story of Trudeau's passing this morning. It was greeted with shock and sorrow on the city streets.
Bringing the Constitution back home was the greatest accomplishment, and giving sense of Canadian. Well, I think he was a true definition what Canada is all about.
He brought a breath of life into this country and modernized it. I really think that Canada today is the exact result of his work. And for that, I mourn a great man. I think he was great.
I'm kind of a Trudeau baby, and we grew up with him as a marker of Canadian identity. I mean, he was the ultimate expression of Canada for us. I mean, he was cool, he was suave, he had all of that stuff going, and I know there's a lot of people that didn't like him, but that's their problem. We miss him.
As a young girl, I saw his image everywhere, and he's an icon to me, and it's very shocking that he's gone. He was always around when I was small, and I guess you sort of expect that he'll always be around, but now he's gone, and it's very sad.
There's no full-blown teacher strike on the horizon, but that doesn't mean calm waters on the education front. Hundreds of students walked out of Jarvis Collegiate High School today to protest a lack of after-school activities. This as negotiations continue between the Toronto Public High School Teachers Union and the board to avert a 9 a.m. Monday work-to-rule deadline. Sophia Harris reports.
Another student demonstration over missing after-school activities, a job many teachers aren't doing to protest sweeping government changes to the Ontario school system.
All the extracurricular activities, including all sports teams, dances, anything like that, have been stripped.
And students may soon lose more. Right now, Toronto Public High School teachers and the local school board are deep in contract negotiations. If things aren't resolved by 9 a.m. Monday, teachers will stop doing administrative duties like hall and cafeteria monitoring and on-call work.
I hope that the board and the Federation are successful this weekend. I know they're working hard at it, and everyone's got their fingers crossed.
Our most recent understanding is there's been very little progress made. There's really no negotiations, no serious negotiations.
The school board will not comment on the talks, but says it's willing to negotiate around the clock to reach a deal. But students here say the only one who can put an end to this dispute is the government.
Mainly on the government we see it. Who else faults is it, you know? It's not the teachers.
So you think the government should step in and solve this?
Well, of course, we need extracurricular activities. We need textbooks. Teachers need more time to prepare for classes if they're going to meet the needs for the students.
But the Ontario government says it is staying out of the negotiations and that this is something that has to be solved at the local level. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Toronto.
7 more bodies have been discovered in that sunken ferry off the coast of Greece. They were found in the hallways of the ferry. Most of them had life jackets on. 72 people died, including a man and a woman from Montreal, when the ferry struck a rock near the island of Paros on Tuesday. He's heir to the British throne and perhaps the world's most famous teenager. But Prince William has always been a pretty low-key kind of guy until today. He spoke to reporters about his future and spoke out against an unflattering portrayal of his late mother. Anne McMillan reports.
It was a carefully orchestrated occasion, the first time Prince William had talked to the British media. Selected journalists were invited to meet the prince at his father's country estate to hear how he plans to spend the next year before heading to university in Scotland.
I'm off to Chile with Raleigh International, doing an expedition with them.
At first, questions dealt with Prince William's upcoming trip to Chile, where he'll do volunteer work building roads and houses. But then he was asked how he and his brother, Prince Harry, felt about a controversial new book being serialized in a British Sunday paper. Called Shadow of a Princess, it portrays the late Diana, Princess of Wales, as a scheming liar who was self-obsessed and destructive. The book was written by a trusted royal aide. Patrick Jepson was private secretary to the princess for 8 years. The royal family are furious about the book, but this is the first time they've admitted it publicly.
Well, of course, Harry and I are both quite obsessed about it, but our mother's trust has been betrayed, and that even now she's still being exploited. But I don't really want to say any more on that.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
The fact that Prince William did talk about his mother and how it grieves him and his brother to have her memory maligned is being seen as an attempt to stop future unpleasant speculation about her life and her death. Anne McMillan, CBC News, London.
To the weather now, and Bill Lawrence outside on Front Street. And Bill, for this last day of the CBC Evening News, you'd think they'd have brought you inside.
Well, you'd kind of think so, but we'd establish a record, so we'll maintain our stand right out here, and it's a beautiful night to be doing that. And so, Hannah, how nice of you to come back for our final night indeed. Sun is shining, just light winds, temperatures on the rise. Beautiful fall weekend coming up here in southern Ontario. It starts off with a clear night tonight. Temperature sliding to about 7. No frost on the roofs tomorrow morning. Plenty of sunshine expected for tomorrow. Southwesterly winds at about 30 kilometers an hour will push that temperature up into the low 20s. And we'll be back in a bit. We'll extend this very attractive picture. And, of course, we'll also look at the weather all around from north to south to east to west, right across the province of the Trillium. Suhanna?
Thank you, Bill. Still ahead on the CBC Evening News, the times they are changing at the CBC. A new national and local news hour will greet viewers on Monday night. A sample of the news show and its new hosts when we come back.
Jays and Indians, Sunday, 1 Eastern on Labatt Blue Jays Baseball on CBC.
How do you define a citizen of this country? It's a person who believes there's no danger in driving out on thin ice to put up a sign that says, danger, thin ice. That's the kind of courage we need today.
Since 1988, Petro-Canada's Olympic Torch Scholarship Fund has raised $11 million to help almost 2,000 of our athletes to realize their dreams.
It was the silent killer of the summer. But long before Walkerton, alarm bells were ringing. Was anybody listening?
It's a lethal microbe.
E. coli, what we already knew. Then, he came out of the shadows last season on the 5th Estate. And in this follow-up on Stephen Truscott, more questions are raised on a 41-year-old murder case that just won't die. The season premiere of The 5th Estate, Wednesday night at 8 on CBC television.
Any way of telling how long she was alive after the beating?
For at least an hour, maybe 2.
Now, what about time of death? There's a question right there. Did you record a time of death, doctor?
No, you guys are cops. You're asking me about another cop.
You don't help us out. We're going to tell everybody you did.
You're absolutely sure you saw him at your house after your mom died? Yes.
I need somebody to say he never died.
Sorry.
Anybody asked, this conversation never took place, okay?
Da Vinci's Inquest, season premiere, Wednesday at 9 on CBC.
If you haven't already heard, things are about to change here at the CBC. Beginning Monday at 6, This program will be replaced with a new Supper Hour news program. It's a commercial-free half-hour of national news originating from Vancouver, followed by a half-hour of local news. Mike Wise has prepared this preview of the big changes to come.
On the other side of the country, it has been a busy summer. Ever since Vancouver was picked to host a brand new national newscast, workers have had to upgrade the CBC facilities to handle the demands of producing 8 live newscasts a day. It's a job that's required thousands of feet of electrical cables and new satellite dishes to connect Vancouver with CBC offices across the country. It's also required long hours on the part of the journalists whose job it is to get the program's content on air.
I've always looked for a chance to start up a show because it means that, no one else has written the rules for you, that this is a chance to do something truly different. Television shows tend to get very formatted very quickly. And this was a chance to, as I said, start at the bottom and apply a lot of the things that we'd been talking about for a while at the CBC, but really didn't have a chance to put into action.
Canada Now is launching just as CBC News itself is reorganizing, uniting network and local reporters and resources across the country.
And take their on.
You're watching Canada Now live in Little Italy.
In Toronto, the one-hour newscast will feature both national and international news, followed by local news at 6:30.
Where would Dennis find the waterman?
Rehearsals have been taking place for the past 2 weeks, getting the national segment of the program ready for broadcast.
4, 3.
I'm confident now that we have, the base for a show, that all our operations are fairly sound. It's going to take a while to shake things down. But I think we should clear the tower on Monday, and the possibilities are really, after that, are up to our imagination.
Here in Toronto, the local component is also busy rehearsing with anchor Carol McNeil. She comes to Canada Now with 13 years of reporting and anchoring experience at the CBC, in Fredericton, Windsor, and CBC News World. With the Toronto half of Canada Now, there's no set. The show plans to use the city as its location at first, going live on location each night.
For us, the first week we'll be covering Little Italy. We'll be coming live from Little Italy. We'll be giving people a sense of what it's like to be in Little Italy, a bit about the culture. We'll be coming from Chinatown. We'll be coming from Church Street. We'll be coming from, Nathan Phillips Square. We'll be coming from places yet to be determined based on the news of the day.
McNeil says it is a challenge producing a new local newscast in the shadow of CBLT's old one, but that even though the CBC Evening News is gone, the CBC is still committed to telling local stories.
People are still going to see in every moment from 6:30 to 7 something about the city of Toronto. This is about Toronto. It's a celebration of Toronto. It's about the good news from Toronto. It's about the bad news from Toronto. But it's about Toronto. We make no apologies for that.
So with one final dress rehearsal tonight, Canada Now is set to go on the air for real Monday night at 6 o'clock. Mike Wise, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, lots of excitement for you. When we return, he's the guy who kept us dry, warned us about that snow squall, and told us when to wear sunscreen. There's nothing tiny about the talent in this man. Bill Lawrence, a farewell forecast. Next.
Closed captioning of this program is brought to you by Lotto 649. Saturday's jackpot has grown to $15 million. Imagine the freedom.
For everyone who could use unconventional financing to fuel their enterprise. For everyone who needs venture capital to seize the day. For everyone who's looking for a network of consultants to expand their horizons, this bank is only for you. The Business Development Bank of Canada. In business for small business.
He captured the faces of the 20th century.
That instant is summation of that person's life.
The legend behind the camera. Yusuf Karsh on the season premiere of Life and Times, Tuesday following the Olympics. They save lives, but they take lives. They're safe at some speeds, but not at others. They should be optional, but they're not. The airbag controversy. Marketplace season premiere, Tuesday at 8 on CBC.
David and Ed Mervish are proud to present a show so moving and powerful.
so spectacular, you'll remember it for the rest of your life. Disney's The Lion King. On stage now at the Princess of Wales Theatre. For tickets, call 872-1212 or go online at mirvish.com. There is only one show like The Lion King.
Automatic prepaid service. It's the talk of the town. For just $100, you'll get the new Mitsubishi handset plus 176 minutes of local airtime and a color faceplate free. Automatic, a breed apart.
Welcome back. We'll go back outside to Front Street and Bill Lawrence with his final look at the weather. Bill?
We really got to get this one right now, don't we? This is like being at the Olympics. This is going for the gold. Well, here we go. First of all, as you well know, we look at the province. Let's begin. Up to the nation's capital we go, over to northeastern Ontario. Pretty fine fall day there. Colors just about 40% changed in that part of the province. Temperatures there in the mid-afternoon running around 15 degrees. Look at this up in the North Country, up around Timmins, Kirkland Lake, and Kapuskasing, partly cloudy and 19 degrees. Gore Bay, Elliott Lake, North Bay today, plenty of sunshine there at around 16. Warmest spot in this country today, right there, Thunder Bay at 23 degrees. Warmer than anywhere else. Dryden, Red Lake, and Kenora, partly cloudy and around 18. You talk about 18. That's the way it was in southwestern Ontario today, around Sarnia and Windsor, Bell River, London, Guelph, Kitchener, 16 degrees. Toronto through the Golden Horseshoe in the mid-teens. Around Muskoka up in Cottage Country, a bit of cloud there this afternoon, not far from 13 degrees. Say, a fine night tonight. No chill expected. We'll hold it about 7 degrees. For tomorrow, lots of sunshine. Get up around 22 degrees. You like Saturday. Here comes Sunday. Another beauty. That's the way it shapes up. That's the way we wrap it up and say so long. As we look at Sunday, more sunshine, temperatures into the 20s we go. Bit of cloud on Monday, bit of cloud and sun for Tuesday. I like that Sunday best of all, not far from 24 degrees. So that's the weekend weather, and that's the last forecast from Front Street. Sue Hannah.
I knew you'd bring us sunshine, Mr. Lawrence.
Had to be.
Well, it's a day of fond farewells here at the CBC Evening News. Our program ends tonight for good, and so does the near half-century career of a Canadian broadcaster and man of incredible integrity, our very own Bill Lawrence. Mike Wise joins us from Front Street with a tribute. Mike?
Well, Santa, we know how popular Bill is with our audience, and with good reason. He spent 46 years in broadcasting, the last 28 years of those right here at the CBC. Certainly for generations of people who grew up with him on television in the GTA and the greater Golden Horseshoe area, he's a face to be recognized on television, both here doing the weather and on Tiny Talent Time. I was fortunate enough to speak with him earlier this week to get some of his thoughts.
Television broadcasting is a complex chain of many links.
This business has changed. It's changed a great deal since I started.
Mortar. Can you say that word?
But then I've changed too, I suppose.
Tiny Talent Time offers a showcase for aspiring
I've been doing
singers.
this since 1954.
Are you originally from Ireland, Maureen?
No.
And in the earlier days, it seemed to be a lot more fun than it is now. But I was a few years younger then.
And now we'll have a look at the weather numbers. Bill, I understand you won't be here tomorrow, Valentine's Day.
That's right, Sharon. Tomorrow I'm going to put my little quiver on my back and head northward to visit some of our... I can't think of just how many thousand forecasts that I've done. I've got a few of them right. And so I think I've done pretty well, too.
Understood.
Yes. And I found over the years that a lot of the weather was a nostalgic trip. People remember when they used to live in Yellowknife.
And away we go. Let's have a look.
And when I mention the weather there, they say, oh, I know that kind of day. I was there once, and oh, yeah, it does get cold.
Little movement today, and that's the low that was the blocking agent.
Right, big, soft, fluffy flakes swirling around. We have worked on the roof of this building when there was enough wind to blow your eyelids back.
So, weather-wise, Jerry, what's the word that springs to mind out there tonight? It's gold. It's bold.
In the last few years, have mercifully been taken off the roof and put onto Front Street. And there has been a constant parade of people who come by and talk to us. And that is just one of the fun parts of doing this. You sometimes tend to forget, but we're a guest. We're a guest in people's homes. And for some 28 years, people have been, you know, kind enough, have acted as hosts and said, come on in. And now when they're walking by and they see us out on the street doing the weather, they say hi and they want to talk and reminisce and ask why it rained the day they got married. And all of those things I'm going to miss. Over tonight, a little shower, thunderstorm, it's cooler and drier. I'm sorry to go, but in another way, I'm glad to be going. Maybe it's just time. Maybe it's just time.
Bill, a lot of those people here down here to wish you well with everything. Is this a tiny talent graduate? You judge him, it's yours.
I think we'll give him a diploma and thank you, Michael. That was lovely. That was nicely done. Nicely put together. Well, it's been my pleasure. And, you know, tonight there's been a parade of people coming by, and the audience relations people tell me that the lines are busy. And the Toronto Star called me this afternoon and said that their switchboard's all tied up after the article. So, a thank you to all of you for, as the man just said, for allowing us into your homes over all those years. It's really been a pleasure. I just want to say that I wish that new program coming up all the luck in the world. I hope they have the kind of success and the acceptance that we've had over the years. And a special thanks to my special cameraman, Richard.
Thank you, Bill. And for the last time, I get to say, that is the CBC Evening News. As we mentioned, a new supper hour program begins on Monday. I hope you'll join Ian Hannah-Mansing and Carol McNeil for Canada Now at 6 o'clock. It's been my privilege to sit in this chair as host for the past 5 years, to work with a team of journalists who care so much about making a difference. They haven't stopped caring. Many are moving on to Canada Now. Others have embraced new challenges. And you, as viewers, have shown us immense respect and loyalty over the years, and for that, we thank you. I know that you will not stop caring either. On behalf of the entire staff here at CBC Evening News, our producers, reporters, editors, camera operators, and our control room crew, it's been an honor and a pleasure keeping you informed. Take good care. Good night.
Coming Monday.
News as it happens, from where it happens, and why it's happening. From the lead story to the back rooms.
To back streets, backyards, and kickbacks.
I'm Ian Hannah-Mansing.
And I'm Carol McNeil.
Together, we bring you a one-of-a-kind hour of national and local news.
As it unfolds.
As it evolves.
CBC News, Canada Now.
It's breaking news.
And all the rules.
Coming Monday night at 6 on CBC Television.
All things are possible to him that believeth. Substance.
Looking for the miraculous.
We're expecting a miracle.
There is power.
Two powerful preachers attract millions.
Now you can make checks payable, of course, to Benny Hinn Ministries. Are you happy?
Hope, damnation, and the promise of miracles on Witness.
The Lord's gonna touch you, young boy.
Season premiere Tuesday at 9 on CBC.